Hi guys, I am late again, per usual. Here we are. I was just on a mastermind call with my mastermind. We meet with my team once a month, so that's why I'm late. I have no real excuse other than our call went over and it was super good. So here we are. I am so happy to be here with you on this beautiful Monday. I have been like feeling life right now. I'm like, oh, Monday. So you're catching me on a very happy Monday. So this is something I'm super excited to talk about because I feel like it's something I've been personally just using for a really long time. But I don't feel like I ever really talk about it, but I've like mentioned it to a couple clients here and there recently. And I think I did, I added like a bonus video into value-centered sales on this. And so I was like, oh, this is something I like need to tell everyone about outwardly. This may or may not resonate. So of course, take what does. This is not like a requirement to think about things like this. This is certainly not a requirement to make more sales, but it has helped me a ton. And so I love to share that because I think it could help you guys. Hey, Michelle. Oh, it's so good to see you. Hi. If you're here, say hi. Okay, cool. So you guys know I'm super bad about like teasing it, and I just like to get to the point. So let's get to the point of what that concept is, and then I'll kind of break down how I use it, what that looks like, all that kind of stuff. Hey, Tristan. And if you have questions, obviously, along the way, let me know. I think that when I say the thing, hear me out for a second, because it is kind of like a lot to process at first. But hi, Megan. I haven't seen you in a while. It's good to see you. So this concept came from the book Letting Go by David Hawkins. If you follow me on Instagram, you know I probably have shared it a ton. I really, really, really love that book. I just think he does such a fantastic job of like actually breaking down things in terms of like an actionable way. Like I feel like I love Michael Singer. You guys know that too, but like I feel like sometimes his stuff in terms of like surrender and letting go is very like up here and a little bit hard to be like, but what do I do? And I feel like the book Letting Go does a really good job with like, what do you do? The guy who wrote it is a PhD, is a psychologist, so he has like a lot of like mental constructs and context for it. But anyway, the concept in there that I have been using for a while now and that has changed so much for me is live life as though everyone can read your mind, because they can. So this doesn't mean they can read your mind and you don't have to vocalize things. It's totally the opposite. It means they can read your mind, so you might as well say it. You guys have probably heard me say this a ton about how I operate in coaching and how I operate in sales, which is like, I'm not going to think something that I'm not also willing to say. That's like one of my rules for coaching. I think that's why my clients get a lot out of our coaching, because I'm not like thinking something and going, oh, but like they're not ready to hear that, or I shouldn't say that. Like most of my clients know that I'll be like, I'm going to say the same annoying thing again and again and again, and you're going to keep hearing it from me until we kind of get a breakthrough on it. So just really being willing to say the thing is so valuable. And I've kind of always operated like that. But once I read this extra layer of the idea that like operate as though everyone can read your mind, it made so much more sense to me in a way that I like never even like put together before when I was doing that. Like I always use that as a rule, like just say the thing, because being congruent is really important to me. But as it applies to sales, it is so fucking valuable, because what we are so often doing is we're so worried about the specifics of what we say in sales, right? What's the script? What's the exact way to say it? What's the exact thing? And I've always been so against teaching scripts because it just doesn't seem congruent. But when you add the layer of everyone can read your mind, it's not just that it's incongruent, it's just that it doesn't fucking work, because they can still feel your energy, right? So if you're getting on a call and you're having a sales call with someone and you're thinking like, oh my gosh, like I totally see why you're having trouble, like whatever, making this investment, because all of the things we just talked about are about how you don't trust yourself. So of course it's really hard for you to make this investment. Can we just talk about that? That will get you so many more sales, right? than just being like, well, what's the script? What's the script? How do I say it? How's the exact thing to say? And the example that I'll use for this is like, you know how like, you know, if someone's actually pissed at you or not, like someone might be like, I'll do this, right? I've totally done this. Like I could say to my fiance, like, I'm not mad. It's fine. He fucking knows it's not fine, right? So just like you can say the perfect script on the sales call, but whatever energy is behind that is going to translate. So where it gets easier is to know, well, they can read it anyway, just say the thing. So I'm going to give you some examples of that. But do you see what I mean there? Where it's like people are reading your energy so much more than they're reading your words. So we get so obsessed with the words and it's just so not useful, because what they're really picking up from a sales call or from any exchange is your energy. And so if the energy is off, that's what's going to translate, right? It's not, I don't even say things always the same way on sales calls ever. It's not about the specifics, but in this space, we tend to get so locked in on like the specifics of like exactly how I'm saying it, exactly the word for overcoming the objection, whatever. And it's like not the point. Hey, Kristen. Aw, thanks, Michelle. You said that's what I loved about our coaching together. Yes, always say the fucking thing, right? So what do I want to say about this? So let me just give you some examples, right? So, well, actually, let me tell you one more piece of this. So the other part that's helpful here is that if you wouldn't want to say it, then you want to change the thought. Okay, this is super important. So this is where this concept gets really helpful. Like if what I'm thinking on the sales call is like, oh my God, I really, 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 really want you to buy, like you have to buy, this is so important that you buy, whatever, right? Do I actually want to say that? No. So like my job is to change the energy, to change the thought. Do you see what I mean there? So it's like I either say it or I change the energy. I either say it or I change the thought. Like I'm at choice always. But what I don't do is go, well, I said the right thing. I don't know why it didn't work. This totally removes that. This totally does not give you the opportunity to be like, but I followed the exact script and it didn't work. It gives you your power back in this way that like most sales in our space do not, right? It really calls you to this idea of like, you're either going to say what you're thinking or you're going to change what you're thinking. And so this is like really helpful across the board in like all things, right? So we're going to talk about it as it applies to sales, but seriously, like this has changed life for me too, right? Like I have to realize that people are reacting to me based on what I'm actually thinking, not what I'm saying. So if someone's coming at me in a way I don't like I'm called to be like, well, what am I actually thinking around this? Okay, like I totally have an example of this of like someone that we're like tangentially friends with who I just don't fucking like. And I would always be like, gosh, what's her problem? She's so rude to me. What's her problem? Right? But like the truth is I don't like her and she probably gets that energy from me every time we're together. And so how else would she respond? So I either get to be an acceptance of that, right? Or I get to change my thought about her. But when I was doing that thing where I was like, well, I was nice to her and I don't know what her problem is, I was just totally deluding myself that like someone can't feel the energy that's coming, right? Do you see what I mean there? Is that making sense? And then again, that's where sales gets really interesting because you can't be like, well, I followed the script. I don't know why they didn't buy. You're like, well, what was I really thinking though? Was I really present? Was I really listening to them? Was I really in response to them? Or was I trying so hard to follow the script that they felt really disconnected from me? They didn't even feel like I was listening because truly that's what was happening, right? So this idea of everyone can read your mind is so useful to apply here because it gives you all the permission in the world to just say the thing, right? All the permission. So if you're on a sales call, your job is to be really present and say what's coming up for you or to shift your mindset when you need to. Like if you're thinking, oh my gosh, what if they don't buy? Instead of staying in that place, you're like, I don't want them reading that. Like, no. What I'm going to think about is how I can be present and serve this person. Let me get there, right? Let me get on that track. So it's really about stepping back from this idea that like, I just have to say the perfect thing. And it's really like, I have to bring the right energy and I have to watch my own thoughts. This is true in business in so many ways too. It's not just about like, was my marketing message on point? It's like, was it actually what I was thinking? Did I really say that? Right? Hi, Jen. Michelle says it's all about energy always. It's because you weren't in alignment with what you were saying versus what you're thinking, feeling. Love this. Exactly. Totally. I love that. Jen said this has been a game changer for me. Absolutely. So I think that, you know, if you're thinking like, oh my God, I hope they buy, they can read that energy. So like your job is to keep reworking that. Like, oh my gosh, can I like get in alignment with just serving this person? Can I really get my focus here? Right. And this isn't to scare you. I think a lot of people, when they think about the idea that everyone can read their mind, gets totally freaked out, which I get. But it's a really good mindset hack, really good, because it teaches you that your thoughts are translating and your thoughts are the most important thing, right? And when you can realize that, and when you can bring that to sales and to business, life gets so much easier because you're constantly called to change your thoughts or to be more truthful with what you want to say. And when you can shift your thoughts and be more truthful with what you want to say, life gets pretty fucking easy. It really does. Sales get really easy, right? It doesn't mean that it's never like something that is hard to communicate, but it does get so much simpler. So I'll use an example that I had recently too that is not just sales related, though it is, but I had a sales call with someone and I just kept feeling like, gosh, I just like don't know if she should hire me right now. And I just kept thinking that and kept having that feeling. But, you know, I kind of felt like, oh, but like she really wants to and feels like we're a really good fit. And I was kind of like feeling like, oh, should I say this? But I eventually just said the thing and was like, listen, I'm just going to tell you this feeling that I'm having and I'm going to tell you what I'm thinking about it. And I'm going to tell you why and all of this stuff. And she was like, ooh, that was kind of hard to hear. But damn, I think you're really, really right. And that's a really fucking good point. And I think you're right. I'm going to go like handle this and then I'll come back and work with you. So it can go both ways. Sometimes it's to make the sale or sometimes it's not, but it's just like trusting what's happening for you. It also requires a lot of self-trust because you're trusting that like you're allowed to say what it is you're thinking, right? Again, it makes you watch your thoughts so much more. And it's not to be obsessed with what you're thinking and never have a bad thought, but it's to know that like that energy is going to translate. And so it's okay if someone's upset or you get to change the thought. Really cool that it can be either, right? Hard at first, but empowering later. Hey, Maggie. So here's an example, right? Like instead of going, you know, say you're on that sales call and you can tell that someone's really, really, really struggling, right? Instead of going, well, I know this is what clients come to me with, like, well, I know she's probably struggling with XYZ, but I didn't say that because I didn't know if I really should. This totally removes that, right? This isn't like I didn't say that because I didn't know if I should. This is like, and I said it and here's what happened. We worked through it. We talked about it. Like that will get you the sale every time when you can just be that transparent, or it will show you that that person wasn't the right fit. Okay. But when you're trying to say the right thing and thinking another, that energy is always going to get weird, right? And it's so much harder to make the sale. Most of the time when people are sharing sales scripts with you, it works really, really well for that person because they were saying what they were thinking. They were in that energy. It was actually congruent. But then when we try to replicate it and we are not having thoughts that are in alignment with that, that discrepancy is always going to show up, right? So again, that other thing is sometimes we can be so focused on the script that we don't just say what's true for us. So this happens to me all the time when I'm working with clients on sales stuff, is they'll come to me and they'll be like, here's what happened on the call. And then here's what I really think is going on, right? That's such a thing that we all do. I've done it. I'm sure most of you have done it. Here's what happened. Here's what I think is really happening. And so what I'm teaching my clients all the time is like, why are we not saying what's really happening? right? Because when you do, the person is very, very quickly going to realize like you're the best person that they could hire, or you're just going to realize they're not the right fit, right? But if you're doing that thing where you're saying the right thing, but having a different feeling, assume that they can read that energy. Okay, that is so useful and so important. You could apply this to coaching too. Again, don't be a coach that isn't willing to say the thing, right? So again, we're either called to say what we're thinking because we know other people can read that, or if we don't want them to read that energy, we're called to shift our mindset about it. How many times have you heard yourself or someone else say like, well, I kind of knew they weren't the right fit anyway, so it's fine that it didn't work out, right? But like you knew, so that energy was probably translating. Can we just have a conversation about that? Can we just open that door, right? And again, like that person, like whatever happens with that, if like they don't work out, you're being super honest, super transparent, super in alignment with what you're thinking and saying is going to be the thing that makes them refer you or come back to you later, or refer, you know, a ton of other people to you, or consume your content or share your stuff, whatever that is, right? But when you can just take that and know they can read that I don't think we're the right fit anyway. So like if I could just say it, like we could save ourselves a ton of time. Or like I've had clients where I've done the opposite, where I was just like, oh my God, like I feel like we are supposed to work together. Like, yes, we're such a good fit. I'm just going to say that too. Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm supposed to play it cool and I don't want them to feel pressured. And I'm just going to be like, listen, I'm feeling this. Like, this is amazing. I think we could be a great fit here. Like, what's your thought on that? Right? And sales calls feel so different when you can just enjoy like that, when you can just say the thing, right? And also, it feels better because you understand why people are reacting to you in the way they are. If people are constantly like reacting to you in a way that you don't like, check your brain. Like, what are you actually thinking about that? It's like that example I gave with the friend in our friend group that I just don't like. She probably knows I don't like her. And so that's why she's giving me that attitude every time I see her. Well, like, I don't necessarily need to change anything, but it feels a lot better than ruminating later and being like, I don't know what her problem is. I actually do know what her problem is. I don't like her, right? Like, that's just okay. Maggie says, yes, I have had like two people where in the consultation, I literally referred them to someone else because I genuinely thought it was a better fit. They both went and did work with the people I suggested, and they both still came and worked with me later, which was fascinating. 100%. I think that's a perfect example, Maggie. Like, you just said what you were thinking. Like, that was really present for you. Like, hey, I think you should work with someone else. But being willing to say that in the moment is what translates in such a different way, right? And then, you know, the same is true for like being able to show them where they're stuck. Like, one thing that I'm always pushing people to in sales is have the real conversation here. Like, do they just not want to hire you? Do they just not trust themselves? Like, what's really going on? Right? And so many people are so hesitant to do that, even though they're like, I know you're probably just not hiring me because you don't trust yourself. But let's have this whole other side conversation that's, you know, about something else and about money or not relevant. Yeah, you're probably not going to make the sale like that. But if you're like, listen, I'm just going to be totally honest with you, what feels really present for me and what's coming up is that it seems like you're really scared to trust yourself to make this investment. Is that true for you? You're not having to say it like a fact, but if that continues to be present for you through the sales call, don't not say it, because that might be the exact moment where someone decides to hire you. I've had that happen so much where like someone mostly thought I was cool and probably wanted to hire me, but then when it came to the objection or came to like stating a pattern and I just said it, they were like, well, damn, I kind of wanted to hire you before, but now I know I have to hire you because shit, that's like what I needed to hear. Thank you for saying that. So it requires a lot of self-trust here to be able to say that thing. But like, this will make sales so much easier for you. You do not have to go around like looking for the script all the time, right? You have to like check in with yourself a little bit more and know that no matter what script you have, what's actually translating is the energy. What's actually translating is what you're already thinking. That also calls you to checking your energy before sales calls. So if you're feeling like you're in that super graspy, intense place, you better handle that energy before you get on a sales call. Right? And again, this isn't to like be scary, but it's to say like, yes, this stuff matters. Yes, it really does translate. Like if I'm feeling super shitty before a sales call, I will take 5 minutes or whatever to get my energy back on track so that I can show up in the right headspace. It's just true. It's just worth that extra effort to get in the right energy. Right. And again, this isn't to be like scary or to say like, oh my gosh, never do anything unless you're thinking the perfect thoughts. But yeah, like be responsible for the thoughts you're thinking because that is going to translate. That's going to make the difference in the sale. Right. So what I always think before a sales call is like, I want the absolute best outcome possible, whether that's hiring me, referring them to someone else, not hiring, whatever it is. Like I want like the best possible outcome here. And I want to be able to get to what their objection really is. And I want to be able to give them value and serve them. So like, that's the headspace I'm getting in before a sales call. So when I get on the sales call, that person feels that truth from me, right? They don't feel like I'm just here to serve you. And meanwhile, I'm like, you better say yes because I need to pay for XYZ by X time, right? And again, I'm not saying that that's not a reality, that we don't need people to buy, but I am saying the energy you bring matters. Does that make sense? I think this is also true with anything else in business. Like I've seen a lot of people execute like basically the same launch plan. One goes really, really, really well. One doesn't. Right? That's why it's so often not just about the specific strategy, but about what we're bringing to it. Right? I totally have been that person that is so guilty of just being like, but I did the right thing. I said the right thing. I don't know what that person's problem is. I don't know why that didn't work out. I don't know why I didn't get that result I wanted. But if I truly, truly check in with myself, right? And I filter through the concept of live as though everyone can read your mind, it always makes sense, right? It always makes sense. And the empowering part is that you get to change your mind. It's not like, oh my God, everyone can read your mind and now you're fucked. It's like, oh my gosh, everyone can read your mind. What a fantastic opportunity to be careful what's up here, to make it a priority, to pay attention to what's up here, to make it, in fact, my number one priority, to pay attention what's up here, right? So like a lot of people, if we apply this to like free calls or something, a lot of people will be like, well, on my free calls, what I'm like most worried about is like, do they think, I was an expert? Do they think I gave them enough value? All that kind of stuff. Well, that translates. That's you like spewing a ton of information at them. That's you showing up like here. That's them walking away with like 35 things to do, right? Like the energy and the thoughts will always translate. Do you see what I mean there? And we can go, oh no, like they didn't know I was thinking that. I just like, gave them a ton of things. No, everyone can read your mind, right? They know you're like, oh my God, let me give you all this so you know I'm valuable, right? So I play with this with clients a lot where it's like, you can give value without thinking like, oh my God, I need you to think about me that I'm valuable. No, I'm going to like show up. I'm going to give you value. I'm going to do the best I can. And we're going to have the best outcome. Like coming from that energy, having that thought process in your head enough that you can be really present for the person in front of you will make all the difference, right? All these like, scripts and strategies and all of that stuff like that can potentially be useful, but what it often does is distract us and it keeps us in a thought process that's not helpful. Like we're thinking like, did I say the right thing in the script? Oh, she said that and she kind of went off script. And so now how am I going to rearrange it? And if you're thinking like, how do I be super present for this person in front of me and then tell them what's coming up for me in this, it's a totally different feeling for the person on the other end. They feel completely seen, heard, understood, right? Or they feel like that was a good call, but like something just felt off. Or like they were really nice, but it just didn't feel like they got me. Or like they gave a lot of value, but like it just didn't seem like they really heard what I was saying. right? And it's because of what's going on up here. So this is literally one of the best concepts I have ever personally experimented with and used in life and in business. This has helped me so much, right? So I really think that this concept applies to coaching, to relationships, to business, all of it. But I think specifically if you can apply it to sales as a starting point and a practice point and let yourself really do that, it will be so interesting to see the difference in your conversions, the difference in your free calls, the difference in how you feel showing up, truly. Like when you can fully show up and give yourself the practice of just saying the thing because they already know it anyway, you will start to love sales calls. I love sales calls for this exact reason. Because like, I just get to show up and say the thing. I like just get to show up and be me. I like just get to show up and serve the person in front of me. Now, the one thing that people get tripped up around with this concept, I think, is that they feel like then it means like I don't have to say things, right? That's not it at all. It's not like, well, if everyone can read my mind, then I guess I just never have to say anything that I want. Everyone's a mind reader. No, that's not it. It's they can already read my mind and feel the energy. So it's weird if I don't say it. They can already read my mind and feel the energy. So there's no point in not saying it. They can already read my mind and feel the energy. So it's going to feel best for us both if I actually just say it, right? Your energy is going to be what creates sales. Simple as that. It's why once you've made a lot of sales, it's easier to be on sales calls, not just because you get better, but it's because you have good energy associated with them. And you're not thinking like, oh my God, am I going to fuck this up? You're like, oh, I'm really good at sales. Hi, how can I help you? Right? It's why that works better over time. So that life-changing for me personally has been huge. Again, I think it's something I kind of always did with coaching and have kind of naturally done with sales. But once I like really started applying this on a broader scale and thinking about this more deeply in terms of like everyone can read my thoughts, oh my gosh, life has gotten so much better and so much easier. And it's really forced me to look at my own thoughts a lot more. Like, so when I can like look at my friendship and be like, hey, is the thought I'm having about this something I actually want to be true, or do I need to shift it? My relationship, hey, is the thought I'm having about this something I would be okay with, you know, my fiance reading my mind around, or is that something I want to shift, right? Hey, on this sales call, am I okay with that this person can read my mind right now, or do I need to make a shift? Or do I need to just say the thing? Oh my gosh, life-changing. Cool. So practice this in sales calls specifically, but of course it can apply to anything, and really like let yourself go here. I think this is a hard thing to almost like let yourself lean into because we're so used to being like, well, I can think whatever I want, but it just matters what I say. And that's just not the thing. In this online space, in coaching, in sales, it's not the thing anymore. It's not just say the right thing. That is not what is translating to sales. It's just not. I'm sure you've all been there and done that. You use the script, right? No. So give it a shot. Let me know how it feels. If it brings up a ton of trigger for you, if this idea of like everyone can read your mind is really intense, this is amazing. This is a really, really, really good opportunity to be like, that says I have some mindset work to do. I want to clean up what's in here. So hopefully this was as helpful to you as it was to me. The book that this is from, once again, is Letting Go by David Hawkins. I think it is an absolutely phenomenal book. I think it should be like required reading. So good. So give that a read. Let me know what you think. Try this in sales, and I hope that you all love it and have a beautiful week. Bye, guys.